everyone, this is Our Travel Experiences. I'm Kyle Rasmussen. Welcome to episode 10. I can't believe that episode 10 is already here. It seems like just yesterday I was thinking about starting a podcast, and now 10 episodes later, here we are. And there's more on the way as well. So super excited if you've been listening through since episode 1. Thanks for the support. I appreciate it. And thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you have gotten a lot out of the conversation so far. And I hope it continues to be beneficial and entertaining for you. So again, thank you to everyone who's listening. If you're a new listener, welcome. This is going to be a fun conversation today. And today, as I've tried to do in the past, so episode 5, if any of you remember, was me talking about my favorite trip. And so my plan moving forward, hopefully, is to just have a conversation about my own travel experiences every 5 episodes. I think that'd be a fun kind of a mix in kind of different conversations, just to kind of keep this entertaining throughout. So anyways, today, and I've had this requested a couple times from a few different people, and so I thought it would be a good time to talk about my travel experience when I taught English in Guatemala. We did other things as well while we were in Guatemala, so I'll talk about that as well, but I'll just talk about my experience there, and hopefully you enjoy. All right, so let's jump into it here. So just to preface this a little bit, I went to San Diego State for college, and my freshman year of college, which would have been 2014, 2015, I was looking to do a study abroad over spring break. I had gotten an email from like the study abroad department or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But they emailed out a bunch of spring break trips that were coming up because it was getting into, I think it was like the start of the spring semester, so January of 2015. And there's, trying to get people to study abroad, I guess. And so I was really interested in going to Peru. There was a really cool Peru trip that was available. It looked like a lot of fun. It was going to be like 9 or 10 days in Peru, kind of exploring and getting to learn the history there and the culture, and some other educational things while we were there. So I actually signed up for that one originally, and it got, I think it got into like a few weeks later, maybe in the February or something like that. And the State Abroad Department reached out to me and said that I was apparently the only one who signed up for the trip, and so they couldn't do the trip, and I was super bummed about that. But they said that I could join this Guatemala trip, which also looked really appealing to me as well. And so I decided that I would go for it. I would do the Guatemala trip, and so I signed up for that one. And then over the next few weeks, started, kind of preparing for that trip. It was a teacher or professor in the education department who was leading this trip to Guatemala, and he had been doing it for many years. And so I got to meet him. We had like a little preparation meeting, kind of meet and greet sort of thing. And so went to that, met him, met the other people on the trip. Most of them were, education students, so they were looking to become teachers. There were some other majors there as well. I was kind of an odd man out, being a financial planning major. But was still exciting to be there and everything. And as we prepared for the trip, one of the things that was required as part of the trip, and in order to get like the class credit for the trip, because technically it was a 1 credit class that we were taking or getting credit for. And so one thing we had to do was to get a bunch of school supplies. So, pencils, pens, scissors, paper, all that sort of stuff. And each of us had to bring a 50-pound, or close to 50-pound suitcase with us to Guatemala. And then we would divvy up all the school supplies among the students, which I thought was really cool. And we also brought, I think it was 9 laptops, if I'm not mistaken. 7 or 9 laptops, something like that, for the school to use. So that was really cool. And I'll talk more about that later. But first, we got all prepared for the trip, and the day finally came. It was getting close to spring break. I think we left a couple days before spring break actually started. So spring break would have started on a Friday. I think we left on a Wednesday or something like that. Flew out of San Diego, flew to Houston, and then Houston down to Guatemala City. And I'm going to pull up my pictures from there just because it'll help me remember where I'm at and all the things that I did. We did quite a lot of things while we were there. We spent multiple days teaching, but we also got to explore a lot and get immersed in the culture as well. Give me 1 second here. This was a while ago, so it's way back in my pictures here. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So we stayed the night in Guatemala City, and we spent the first day there in Guatemala City. We went to, I think it's Museo de Flores, Museum of Flowers or something like that. I don't remember the exact, Museo Miraflores, which was a cool, it was a mall as well as a museum, or there was a mall nearby. But yeah, it was a museum. We got to learn some of the history of Guatemala. They had some cool artifacts in there. I'm looking at a picture of a skeleton that we got to see while we were there. That was pretty exciting. And then we went to this children's science museum. Had a lot of, it was definitely meant for little kids, for field trips and stuff like that. But honestly, I thought it was pretty interesting as well. They had some cool little, interactive exhibits in there, cool things to see, and just kind of like a children's history of Guatemala as well. I'm also looking at right now a picture of a huge Lego R2-D2 that was in there. That was pretty fun to see. And yeah, it looks like it's Museo de los Niños is the name of the place. So that was a lot of fun. And I I kind of went through it a little quickly because I knew, it wasn't a huge place, but we had an allotted amount of time to be there. And so I had gone through everything and ended up just kind of walking outside, and there's a guy who was selling the paletas, I believe they're called, so it was really hot in Guatemala. Guatemala is close to the equator, and so it's pretty warm year round, pretty tropical climate, at least in Guatemala City. And so it was hot, and the orange creamsicle paletas sound really good. I love them. And so I went and I actually bought 2 of those from that guy, and I just sat out there by myself in the warm day. It was sunny, it was a nice day, and just kind of waited for everyone to get through the museum. And I enjoyed those little ice creams there, and it was a fun time. that was a fun kind of like private memory that I had by myself. Yeah, let's see. So we went there, and then we ended up, after kind of spending the day in Guatemala City, kind of getting acquainted to Guatemala itself, we went out to our hotel in Antigua, Guatemala, which is not too far away from Guatemala City. I think it was probably like maybe an hour drive in the bus away. In Antigua, if you haven't been there, I highly recommend. It is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to. I'll have to put some pictures up of Antigua. One of my favorite souvenirs from traveling is a painting that I got in Antigua, and it kind of depicts the town of Antigua with the volcano in the background. There's a lot of volcanoes in Guatemala, and I have that painting hanging up in my room, in my bedroom, because it's one of my absolute favorite paintings and souvenirs that I have. But we stayed at a really cool hotel in Antigua, really nice, kind of low-key hotel. I have a lot of pretty flowers, or there was a lot of like pretty flowers there. It was springtime, so things were kind of blooming, and it was starting to look really pretty and colorful. They had a couple courtyards in the hotel that had all sorts of flowers and fountains and all sorts of things. So I'll have to put some pictures there as well. And let's see, I'm looking through here, trying to remember exactly what all we did. We went to Hotel Aurora is what it's called, for anyone that is looking to go there. So then, yeah, that night we went out in Antigua. We walked around, got acquainted with the city. We went to a church that was there. There's a beautiful church there. It had, I'm trying to find I don't know what it's called, and someone will have to let me know what these are called. But it's like just a big, like rice, I think it's rice, like mat that people had made, and it was inside the church, and it was humongous. I mean, the amount of hours that had to have gone in to making that has to be astronomical. It was a lot. So that was pretty amazing to see. It's kind of hard to see in this picture I'm looking at, just because it was taken at night. But yeah, that was beautiful. And we went to a restaurant there. I remember, I have a picture of the food here. It wasn't actually as bad as it sounds, but I had like it was like pork liver in like a pig's blood soup sort of thing. Sounds really gross, but it was actually pretty good. I enjoyed it. I don't know if I would eat much more of it, but it was actually quite good. And yeah, continued to walk around the city. Everything was kind of getting ramped up for, I'm trying to remember the day, what it's called. Is it Easter Sunday? No, I don't think it was Easter Sunday. I'll have to look here. Let me look this up so I don't sound like an idiot. If I don't sound like one already. Holy Week, so Semana Santa. Yeah, okay. So it had to do with Easter and all of that. We were getting into Easter. I believe that was it. It seems like it was early for that. But yeah, so must have been Holy Week or Easter. So they were ramping up for that. There was, Guatemala is mostly Catholic, so that was a big deal. Everybody was gearing up across the country for that. Okay, so we were spending the night in Antigua, Guatemala, and I think some of us went out that night and went to a local bar and just kind of hang out, had some drinks. It was fun. I mean, the weather was nice, so it was nice to be outside and just kind of enjoy the evening, and also kind of take in that we were hanging out in Guatemala. And then the next day, we went through the town. You could see the volcano looming in the background. Is a pretty beautiful sight. And we went to some ruins that were there. Wow, that's a picture of me when I was really young. Oh my goodness. I should post that picture. I went to some old ruins. And there was an old church that we went into. Nothing too crazy there. Saw some bones. What else do we see? Yeah, I saw some ancient ruins. I believe Mayan. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I'd have to go research all of these things to remember. Let's see. Yeah, lots of pretty pictures there. There's the streets in Antigua are like the old, like stone, like cobblestone streets. Not great for cars there, but it makes the town look really pretty and kind of like rustic. Lots of beautiful pictures of the streets there, and lots of pretty flowers. We went to a museum that just talked about the history of Guatemala and Antigua. Had a lot more pretty flower pictures there. And let's see what else. Went to Casa Santo Domingo, which is overlooking part of Antigua. It was just a perfect day when we were there, and so it was great to just be able to see the mountains all around and the town far below. Lots of pretty sights. Trying to remember what else here. We went to a bird sanctuary. That's right, birds there. Some parrots. I'll talk more about the parrots later. What else? Oh yeah, I went to this great restaurant for lunch. It was on like the second story where we sat, just in the middle of Antigua, and again, beautiful day. The doors were open, a nice breeze. You could see the volcano in the background, and the food was good too. So it was just a great moment there. Let's see. Then we just kind of wandered through the town. Just kind of saw the sights. There's lots of old architecture there. Lots of picturesque places to take pictures there. Nothing else too crazy. Sorry guys, it's been a while since I've been here, and I've been on a lot more trips since then, so it's hard for me to remember everything that has gone on or that went on this trip. But and then we drove up into the mountains, and we stayed for the next few nights at Chichicastenango. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Small town up in the mountains of western Guatemala. And while we were there, that's where we taught the kids English. First of all, again, the hotel, absolutely beautiful courtyards. All the flowers were, perfect, colorful and amazing. and the food that we had there was great as well. But yeah, anyways, so we spent a few days in Chichicastenango. When we first got there in the afternoon, on like the third or fourth day, we walked through the town. They had a bunch of vendors selling their knickknacks and all sorts of stuff that they make. And so I think I bought a couple things there. There's a church in the middle of the town that we went to. That was beautiful to see. But it was just kind of fun walking through the town, seeing all the different things that people made, and all the different foods and drinks and all that sort of thing. I know I bought my mom a hand woven little like wall decoration that has a rose, woven into it with a black background. That was beautiful. And we still have it hanging up, which is cool too. And so, yeah, I was just, let's see, I don't think we did anything else too exciting that day. We went to a nice place for lunch. Had some like traditional Guatemalan food. Looking at like plantains and some rice, tamale, guacamole, beans, and roasted chicken. So good food for sure. Let's see. And then, the next day we went out to the school, which is actually probably like 30 minutes or so from Chichicastenango itself. It's even more up into the mountains and more remote. And me and we each had, I think it was either 2 or 3 people. Each class had 2 or 3 people to teach English to the kids. And so me and 2 other people were teaching the 3rd and 4th graders who were in the same classroom together. And so, honestly, I don't know Spanish that well. At the time, I knew even less. So I didn't do a ton of the teaching. It was hard for me to communicate more than just the basics. But it was fun to be there and to help out. I'd help the kids, color in things and write down the English words and that sort of thing. But it was just so fun to see the smiles on their faces. They were so excited to be there and so excited to, to see us, to see, people that didn't look like them, people that weren't from there. And so that was really rewarding in itself, just to see how happy they were to see us there. And so, we were teaching some English there. Mainly what I did is I played soccer with the kids. And, at recess and lunch, they could go out and play soccer and do whatever they wanted to. And so I was playing soccer in the little courtyard with some of the kids. And this school only goes up to 8th grade. So it's like kindergarten or 1st grade through 8th grade. And I mostly play with the 3rd and 4th graders who are in my class, but play with some of the older kids too. Even the 3rd and 4th graders were basically as good as me, if not better. The older kids were definitely better than me, and so it was definitely a challenge. But it was fun being able to play with them, and they were super excited that I was there to play with them as well. And then after I think the first school day was done, we went up the hill a little bit further to where there was an old like dentist office, essentially. It was originally built for like Doctors Without Borders. So some doctors from the U.S. and other places came down and did dentistry for the local people. They were telling us that no one had really been there in a while to do that, and so the people in that community really didn't have any access to any dentistry. And you could see it too with some of the people that they needed some dentistry work, unfortunately. So that was kind of sad to see that it was basically, there was dentistry equipment there and it wasn't being used. So that was kind of hard to see. What was even more hard to see was afterwards we went back down the hill close to the school, and we went to one of the family's house, one of their houses. And so we got to have a little tour of their house, and I'm looking at the pictures right now, and it's hard to see, honestly, because this family, and I don't remember the exact details anymore, but they had basically a one-room house, and it was probably, I don't know, I'd say maybe 20 feet wide and probably, 20 feet long and probably 10 feet wide, maybe. That might be a little bit generous. And the whole family lived in that one room. It was a dirt floor as well. They didn't have any, carpet or anything in there. But the whole family was in there. The grandparents, the parents, the kids. And then what they did is they had a curtain up in the middle that kind of divided it into two rooms. And so on one half of the room, one of the adult children and his wife and their little kid stayed on that side, and then the rest of the family stayed on the other side. And so altogether it was probably, I want to say like at least 8 people, maybe more, that lived in that little room. And that was their house. And that was that was heartbreaking to see, because that's a story for a lot of people there. But they were really excited because they had just gotten like a new like wood stove put in. So they had like a separate little square room, again, dirt floor, pretty small, maybe like 8 feet by 8 feet, if that. And that was their kitchen. And so, they were excited because they had just gotten like an enclosed like wood stove put in, so they didn't have to cook over an open fire anymore. And they were really excited about that. Also, no bathroom. I think they had an outhouse in the back too, but it was sad to see. I mean, they definitely did not have a lot of the comforts that we have here in the U.S. And then before we left there, one of the like teenage daughters of the family was weaving this blanket, really beautiful, colorful blanket that she was hand weaving, which again, it has to take forever to do that. She has to spend all day doing that, if I remember correctly. And they said that she can make usually one big blanket, maybe 2 like smaller blankets a week, and they go and sell those at the market in town every week. And they said that if she sells 2 blankets, I think they were like 50 pesos a piece, then they would be living large. They would have enough, they'd be able to put food on the table. They'd have enough money to pay, whatever bills they had to pay. They might have a little bit extra for, some sort of luxury. If they sold one, things were still probably okay, but a little bit tight. They didn't get any luxuries, anything extra. Maybe they didn't have food the entire week. And if they didn't sell any, then there's going to be at least a few days out of the week where they were going to have food, because that was basically the main source of income for them, was those blankets that girl made. And so hearing that was real hard to hear. It's crazy that they were that close to, not surviving every week, every single day. And we saw it, throughout our time teaching at the school, that some of the kids couldn't even make it all. I think it was 4 days that we taught. They couldn't make it all 4 days because they had to help out with family stuff. Pretty much every kid wore the same clothes every day. So they really didn't have much. None of them really had anything, to be honest. And it was just tough to see. But again, they were so excited that we were there. Even though, and I've told people this before, even though they had essentially nothing, they were some of the happiest people that I've ever met. They were so excited just to be alive, to be going to school, to have food. They were so appreciative of life. And that had a major impact on me. I still look back on that. I still, think about that all the time, of just how happy they were with how little they had. And it really changed my views on the world. I feel like before then I had taken a lot of things for granted. I grew up in comfort. I had, essentially anything that I wanted. And, a lot of people here in America, a lot of kids nowadays especially, have everything that they need and more. They have way more than they need or want. And we're some of the most unhappy people on this planet. And so, it's kind of been my passion since that trip to not live on so much, to not worry about all the material things, and to just appreciate what I have, appreciate the life that I have, appreciate, that I don't have to worry about putting food on the table every single day, and if I'm going to get to eat or not. That's not a concern that I have, and I'm really appreciative of that. And so it's really changed my views on the world. I think it's helped lead me to doing more travel. It's led me to give back as much as I can to the community and to the world, and just find ways that I can help make the world a better place. And so one of the ways that we did that too, like I said, we had to bring school supplies. And so our last day there, we had divvied up all the school supplies, tried to make it even for each kid that was in the school. And we brought them their school supplies and handed it out to each of the kids. And it was just one of the coolest experiences ever to be able to see, their faces light up when they got this, huge sack of pencils and papers and pens and scissors and glue and all sorts of stuff, just basic school supplies. They were so excited for that. They couldn't believe that they were getting all of that stuff. Some of the people were, some of the kids were actually hesitant. They felt like they weren't supposed to have that stuff. They tried to give it back to us. But it was just awesome to see that, see how happy they were and be able to have, that small impact on their lives. I hope, all these years later that, they still, remember that. I'd love to go back and try to meet some of those kids that are, now, probably at least in high school, if not older. It'd be amazing to see see where they're at now. But yeah, one of the most impactful things was giving those school supplies, was teaching those kids, seeing how they lived, seeing how happy they were, just to be there, just to be breathing. Yeah, amazing. I don't even have the words to describe it. I think it's, something like that, you have to go there and experience that for yourself. I could tell you all sorts of things about that trip, but it's not going to have the same impact as you going there and doing that yourself. I promise you it will change your world forever, probably for the better. Anyways, I'll get off my soapbox there a little bit. One of the days we were there, when we were done teaching, we went to one of the cemeteries there, and the cemeteries looked totally different from here in the U.S. They were big, tombs that were above the ground. A lot of them were painted bright colors. They all had kind of unique features. I have a few pictures that I can put on there, but they were absolutely beautiful. Nothing like here in the U.S. And so we walked through the cemetery there, and let's see, what else do we do? Oh yes, the parrots. I'm looking at a picture of a parrot here. So the hotel in Chichicastenango had a few parrots there, and you could have them, get on your arm or whatever. And so, some of us were doing that. I had a couple parrots on my, they get on my shoulder or whatever, my arm. But they can be a little feisty, and if you move too much, they can grip you really hard. And their talons or whatever are very strong. And so this one was feisty already, and he was sitting on my arm, and I guess I moved a little too much or something, because he started digging in, and it wasn't super painful, or I wasn't like too concerned by any means, but I had these 2 bruises on my arm for probably close to a week, at least a few days. It was pretty gnarly, but that was kind of a fun little memory, I guess. So then, after Chichicastenango, we left, and we headed towards Panajachel, which is a little town on a lake there in western Guatemala. On the way there, though, we stopped at, I can't remember the name of the place itself, but we went to, I forget what it's called. Anyways, it was a bunch of older women who had lost their husbands. So Guatemala had a civil war back in the 80s, I believe, 80s and 90s. And so all the women that were there had lost their husbands to that civil war. So they were telling us their story, telling us, about Guatemalan life and all that sort of thing. Pretty sad stories. We had lunch there, though, and, saw all the things that they made. So they made, different blankets and stuff like that, hand woven. And so we had lunch there, and we saw them, make some of their things, and then we bought some of the things from them. And I realized I missed something here too. Before we left Chichicastenango, because it was the Holy Week for Easter, they had a parade through the streets there, and it was like I'm looking at the floats here that they had. They had big statue of Mary and of Jesus, and a lot of people in like traditional dress. There's a huge mass of people, but interesting parade through the streets. So it was cool to be there for that, because that was a big deal for them in their culture. All right, going back, let's see. So we went to the place with the women, then we went to Panajachel, which is a lot different from the rest of Guatemala, I would say, or from the rest of the places that we were at. Panajachel is like an expat paradise. It's a party town. Big lake there, and just a place to kind of relax and party a little bit. There's also these 3 volcanoes that loom in the background, which is an incredible sight to see if you're ever there. Absolutely beautiful. The first day that we were there, we took a boat out to, I think it was called, what was it called? I can't remember the name of the town. But anyways, little ways. You basically had to get there via boat. Not too far from Panajachel, but it was like a little hippie town. They were all about doing all natural foods and drinks, and just kind of just being loving and happy, and I don't know, it was really interesting to see. I'd never seen anything like that before. Never really experienced like the hippie culture, I guess. And it was a lot of like retired US business people and stuff like that were down there. So we had lunch there, and it was kind of interesting to learn the expat history in Guatemala as well. There's quite a lot of it, actually. So we did that, and then the next day we were there, we did a zip lining up above Panajachel, and it was beautiful to see. You could see, the lake and the volcanoes in the background. It was just like a picture-perfect day to be doing that, and just what an incredible view. One of the most beautiful views I've ever seen in my life. And so, we did that. And then the rest of the day, I think we just kind of hung out. We had like a, farewell dinner type of thing, with everyone that was on the trip, at the hotel that we were staying at. And then, some of us went out. We went to just out in the town. There's, a few bars. So we hung out, walked through the streets a little bit. And they had some sort of, like festival going on there. It was like EDM, house music, for any of you that know what that is. And these, there's like promoters that were walking around, and they gave us like free bracelets or free entry into the place. So a couple of us went there just to check that out. It wasn't like too crazy. We didn't spend a ton of time there. But it was like right next to the hotel, and so it was kind of cool to experience that in a different country. But other than that, I mean, that was pretty much the whole trip. I think the next day we went back and jumped on the airplane and flew back to San Diego. But yeah, it was only about 10 days, maybe 9 or 10 days altogether. But that was the most impactful trip that I've ever taken. It changed my life. It changed my worldview. It changed how I looked at society, how I looked at material things, how I looked at, just life in general. And I'm forever grateful for having taken that trip. I think it's made me a better person. I definitely feel like I'm a much better person than I was before that trip. I appreciate life a lot more. I appreciate all the things I have a lot more. Anytime I feel like, life is tough for me, I always look back on the people that I met there, on those kids that I taught, and I just think about how, things can be so much worse. And so I don't let myself, wallow in my own pity. I have all the tools and resources. In the U.S. we have everything we need, essentially. At least a lot of us do. And even, people at the poor end of the spectrum still have so much more than a lot of people around the world. And I think we should all be really, appreciative and grateful for the things that we do have. Obviously, we got a lot of issues and a lot of problems, a lot of things that we could fix. I'm not saying, life is all perfect here, but things could be so much worse. And since I've traveled, since that trip, I've traveled to other third world countries around the world, and the same story applies. There's millions of people around the world that are just fighting to survive every day. And so I always think about that. I have a great opportunity, and I feel like I have a responsibility since that trip to continue to do more for the world, to give back, to do the things that I can to help as many people, here in the U.S. and abroad, to live a happy, fulfilling life. Because I think that's really what life is all about. I used to be, before that trip, I definitely did not think about, what life was all about. I didn't think about it in the same way as after that trip. But after that trip, my life motto has been, life is all about being happy. We only get a short time on this earth, and I think we got to go out there and just, do what makes us happy, go enjoy the moment, and help others to be able to do the same, whatever that dream is, or whatever makes them happy. And also, the other takeaway that I had from that trip was that, be kind to each other. I think, things have gotten worse since that time. When I studied abroad in our world, I think with all the technology and everything, we're losing being present, being in the moment, and being able to relate to people and interact in a kind manner with people. I think part of the reason why they were so happy was because they didn't have all the technology, they didn't have all the divisiveness necessarily. They were just there with each other, and they were in it together. And so I think we could all use a little bit more of that. I hope that's a takeaway you guys get from this episode. And, I hope you all can go experience something like that soon. I know I'm trying to do more of those trips. One of the trips, which I'll mention here, or one of the organizations I support, is H2O for Life, whose goal is to bring clean water to people around the world who need it. That was another thing with Guatemala. They told us that the professor who led the trip basically told us don't drink the water because it's essentially poison, the tap water. And I think that's crazy that we, so many people, there's a lot of people around the world who don't have access to clean drinking water. And so one of my passions right now is to help provide clean drinking water to people around the world through helping to build sanitation systems and things like that for poor communities in third world countries and other places. And so that's an organization that I support. That's another trip that I want to take, is to go help build one of those sanitation systems or whatever the thing is. If you want to talk more about that, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to share more about that with you. There's a couple projects that I support. You can check out that link in my regular Instagram page, King of Avenged. And anyways, so that was all the all about my Guatemala trip. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I missed. But yeah, that was definitely my most impactful trip. It meant a ton to me to be there, and it forever changed my life for the better, and changed my perspective on the world for the better. And I think that's one of the amazing things that travel can do for you. So again, I encourage you all to get out there, travel for service, to provide a service for people in a different place who are in need, and keep exploring the world. So with that, I'll leave you all. Thanks again for taking the time to listen. Hopefully I didn't bore you too much, and I hope you continue to listen in the future. So bye everyone. Hey everybody, Kyle here. If you enjoyed today's show and want more, you can always listen to other episodes on Spotify or Anchor. The links are in the description below. If you want to see travel pictures from today's guest and other guests, as well as my own travel photos, you can see them on Instagram. The page is called Our Travel Experiences Podcast. If you want to share your own travel pictures on the page and or share your travel experiences on the podcast, you can message me on that Instagram page or email me at ourtravelexperiences@outlook.com. I would love to hear about your travel experiences and see all the beautiful pictures that you've taken. Thanks again for listening, everyone, and I look forward to sharing the world with you again soon.